Welcome back, America. We have a great patriot, Congressman Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan, January 6th. Let me just put a little context, and you can take it from there. 1978, Jimmy Carter released from prison 3 Puerto Rican terrorists who shot at members of Congress from the House gallery in 1954, wounding 5. And he released them. On the last day of his presidency, Bill Clinton granted a full pardon to Susan Rosenberg, 16 years into a 58-year sentence for possession of guns and over 700 pounds of explosives, a member of the Weather Underground and numerous of its succeeding splinter groups. And she allegedly participated in the 1983 bombing of the United States Capitol. The explosion blew off Senate Minority Leader Robert Byrd's door, ripped through a painting of Daniel Webster, and damaged the Senate cloakroom. A year after Bill Ayer's girlfriend, this is a close friend of Barack Obama, who helped launch his career, and he and Michelle Obama were close to Ayers for many, many years. After 2 of his friends blew themselves up in Greenwich Village townhouse turned bomb factory, Ayers took part in the 1971 bombing of the U.S. Capitol. We had already bombed the Capitol, he wrote in his memoir. We'd cased the White House. The Pentagon was leg 2 of the trifecta. And Bill Ayers was off on a technicality. We see Black Lives Matter, Marxist organization, enormous violence in our cities, what was done to the Portland courthouse, what was done to the White House, Lafayette Park, billions and billions of dollars of damage. Maybe 15 people killed all through the summer, all through that period of time. I do not support breaching any government building. I spent my life standing up for law enforcement. I was Chief of Staff to the Attorney General of the United States in the Reagan administration. But I know a political motive when I see one. And I know a phony committee hearing when I see one, when they don't want to get to all the facts, but when they're promoting politics. What's your take on this, sir?
You're exactly right. We're the ones who've been consistent. We condemned the violence on January 6th, and we condemned all the violence last summer. Democrats are the ones who've been inconsistent. You're right. This is all about politics. You know, look, I'm like you. The Capitol Hill police risked their lives that day. They do it every day to protect us, protect visitors, protect the staff, everyone on Capitol Hill. God bless them, and God bless all the other law enforcement around the country who do that every single day. But it'd be nice if the Democrats had some consistency here. They don't, because everything for them is about politics. This is now about, obviously about politics. They don't want to, I said this last week, they don't want to address one of the fundamental questions, which is why wasn't there a better security posture that day? Press reports indicate that Nancy Pelosi vetoed having the National Guard here before the January 6th, before that day. And then press reports also indicate on that day, she hesitated in calling them up. Now, why would that be, Mark? Why would she hesitate to call up the National Guard? Why not have the National Guard here? If those press reports are accurate, we should get to the bottom of that. But what could be the reason? My hunch is what we saw all last summer is we saw the Democrats talk about defunding the police. We saw them actually defund the police. We saw Democrats, the rioters and looters who attacked law enforcement, who destroyed small businesses, who attacked innocent civilians. We saw Democrats raise money to bail them out of jail. So with that backdrop, it's kind of hard to say, hey, we need more of you here on January 6th to protect the Capitol grounds and protect the personnel inside the Capitol. So I don't think they want to get to that question. I think that's why they kicked Mr. Banks and me, why the Speaker kicked us off, or I guess not kicked us off, didn't even let us go on to the committee.
And Congressman Jordan, did she not call federal law enforcement in Portland stormtroopers? Did James Clyburn not call federal law enforcement in Portland stormtroopers? Were they not attacking a federal courthouse which had federal employees night after night for 3 months with Molotov cocktails and worse? Did they not attack the White House and harm over 50 Secret Service personnel and the park police? Did they not burn a church almost to the ground, a historic church? Did the media not come to their defense every step of the way? Did they not paint Black Lives Matter initials from one boulevard in one city to another city? Did Nancy Pelosi ever speak out in defense of the cops and against violence at that time, sir?
No, Democrat members of Congress, while there was unrest in the street, Democrat members of Congress said, we need more unrest in the street. I mean, while it's actually happening. So that all, there was over 100-day siege. Frankly, it's never really stopped in Portland, Oregon. So no, that all took place. And then just last weekend, Just last weekend, I think there were 12 people murdered in Chicago, in one of our major, in one city alone, just that weekend. So part of this is also, Mark, I think part of this, this January 6th committee, I think part of it is they have nothing else to talk about. I mean, they can't talk about crime in the streets driven by everything they said about the police, what they did to the police last week. They can't talk about that. They can't talk about the crisis on our southern border. And they certainly can't talk about the fact that the price of every good and service is increasing dramatically. So what are they going to do? Attack President Trump one more time.
You make a very, very important point. Nancy Pelosi is in charge of security. The Sergeant Arms reports to her. Sergeant Arms, or the head of the Capitol Police, who's been ousted, has not been called to testify. We know the NYPD and the Norfolk FBI office got some rumblings about events that were going to occur. They apparently passed that on to the FBI. Christopher Wray, I don't know what the hell Christopher Wray does every day. Apparently it hit his desk, and for 3 or 4 days he didn't do anything about it. Seems to me here the only person who was concerned about security was the then President of the United States, Donald Trump, who offered 10,000 National Guardsmen who were turned down.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.